I don't know if it's been a week or two. I don't remember the last time we were steaming things, but this week a lot went on. I want to start with a little nostalgia, a little look back, because one of the things I was shocked to see this week. Do you know that it's been 10 years since the Ghost Fleet? Peter Singer, August Cole, the
Great book.
famous, supposedly a work of fiction, science fiction, predictive fiction, what have you, about what the early stages of a US versus China conflict could look like. The War in the Rocks sat down with Peter and August to talk about the book 10 years on. What do you think they said? You think the picture has gotten a little bit rosier, a little bit bleaker? What would you guess in the last 10 years?
I'm going to guess things are going down.
Yeah, I think the whole crazy thing is they talk about when they started, when they wrote the book, they started working on it in 2012. There was this idea that maybe we would co-opt China into the rules-based international order, if you remember those days, right? We'd accommodate their rise, kind of the Obama era policies. I think it's safe to say things have gotten actually surprisingly worse. Not the rosiest picture in the world. I think the book kind of paints a picture where the US runs out of a lot of material very early on and takes time to kind of regroup and to build back. I'll say, man, like this one seems like it maybe stands the test of time, which maybe just further emphasizes that without a big crisis, we're kind of heavy footed here in these United States of America, despite all of our drum banging about, reindustrialization and defense tech. It doesn't seem like we've really changed the calculus there.
China's attacking me with the sneeze here. Yeah, I think there are probably some moves we made that are in the right direction. It's like an exponential problem, right? Like being a step behind, and every second you're a step behind, and they have compounding gains means they're going to get faster, right? It's not like if you're a day behind and your enemy has AI perfectly enabled and everything, and then the next day you're not 1 day behind anymore. You're now 3 days behind because they had exponential growth using the best technology and having the best systems in place. So every moment that we delay doing the right things, having the right detailed approach to solving technological problems is a moment we risk having issues.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about it. I thought there was a really interesting argument this week about, hey, we're focused on this AI arms race right now, so to speak, or we can't let China win the AI competition. Then Andreessen Horowitz came out with a piece, you can't let China win the robots competition. It's like, somebody made the point that actually some of this investment might be crowding out the other. So if you're going all in on AI, and the top talent in the country is going to be focused on AI. The top investment, top levels of investment, the top firms are really focused on scouting the big AI companies. There's potentially, downside to that for other domains. So if you want to also compete in robotics, you either need dedicated pools of talent and capital focused on those things. I don't think it's zero sum. I don't think we're not in that kind of scarcity environment. However, I do think the oxygen gets sucked up when the hot thing is everybody wants to be the AI company. It's hard to do multiple big bets, big R&D changes all at the same time. So yeah, I don't think it'll be surprising to many that the picture of US vis-a-vis China, not super rosy, and it hasn't gotten much better. It's the famous political question. Are we on the right track or wrong direction? It's what pollsters think is the major thing to determine what's going to happen in an election. Right track or wrong direction in conflict versus China. It's hard to argue we're on the right track.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot of work, and there are areas where we have an advantage, whether it's in our distributed nature, whether it's in that we have tons of entrepreneurs with different ideas throwing stuff against the wall versus a top-down bureaucracy that we're fighting in China. But they also have a unity of effort in some ways that we don't. So, truly it's a battle of ideology. I think, obviously, I'm biased. I think we have the better one. But we need to actually lean into our strengths, right? We're not going to out-bureaucratize them. And there was a great quote, which, I don't want to over-rotate on, but it's either from like Soviet Union doctrine or German doctrine. And it's like the reason the Americans have the advantage is because we don't know their strategy. And the reason we don't know their strategy is because they don't know their strategy. And there's something to be said for that, right? Which is, if we lean into that, right? And it's that you've got 500 different drone companies working on the problem. Well, then there's no real clear strategy, but then we have 500 different ideas. Now, when you make sure we pick winners and we have a solution that gets fielded and tested, whether it's drones or any other issue, specific AI-related cyber cool issues that we talked about in Ghost Fleet. But there is something you said. We need to lean into what makes us better. And I don't know that we are completely there yet.
I think it was the great American philosopher Mao Zedong who once said, "Let 1,000 flowers bloom," or "Let 2,000 drone companies flourish." Maybe that was the saying. All right, we know that we're in the
Yeah.
fight, and the fight continues.